Hey, good morning. I wanted to make a quick video about Boswellia, flowering, pollination, and sowing seeds. And I figured this was a great time because right in front of me, this Boswellia Nana is currently flowering. Let me see if I could get this camera to focus on the flowers here. Yeah, these are what flowers look like on Boswellia Nana. And I will say Boswellia Nana is probably the easiest to get the flower. If you want your plants to flower, I mean, first and foremost, they have to be of the age to flower. Boswellia Nana can start flowering as early as 2 years old. This one is about 3 or 4 years old now. You could check out that trunk. But the easiest way to get it to flower is to let it go dormant. I repotted this and I let it stay dormant for about 2 months, and then I started watering again. This is currently indoors in my indoor setup, but I brought it out for the video. And yeah, after going dormant, once they start to leaf out, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get some flowers. Now, as you can see, apologies that this is not focusing. This flower over here and this flower over here have already been pollinated, hand pollinated by me. And here are the two additional flowers that have popped up. They've only opened up today. And unlike Commiphora and Bursera, Boswellia have perfect flowers, as in you can self-pollinate and create seeds. Now, ideally, I would have another plant or another, Boswellia species flowering at the same time. Make hybrids or just like a second Boswellia Nana. But in this case, this is the only Boswellia that is flowering. So I'm going to self-pollinate it, and I'm going to show you how. And apologies for the shaky camera. I'm holding a iPhone in one hand, and I have a really bad case of shaky hands. So anyways, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this Q-tip right here. I'm gonna gently poke the flower. I'm going to get a little bit of the pollen from one flower. And you can see, here's the pollen. I'm going to go to the second flower and do the same. And I'm going to try to make sure that I rub this pollen all around, like so. And then I'm going to go back to the first flower, do it again. And I try to do this a couple times just to make sure that the pollen takes. Now, generally, it's pretty easy to self-pollinate Boswellia, although I will say you have a higher chance of getting seeds if you have a second plant. But from my experience, timing the flowering is really difficult. So a lot of times you're going to have one plant flower at one point in time, and you might want to self-pollinate and get some seeds from this. So I'm going to do that, and you will know that the pollination is successful because within a day or two, the petals are going to drop, and you're going to see just like this flower over here, it kind of folds into itself. And you won't be able to tell for certain if the pollen took or not for a little bit, but you're going to see this flower close up, and you're going to see, this little bud form. Kind of looks like this, although this, the red one is a flower that hasn't opened yet. And what should happen is you're going to have a gray little seed pod. Not gray, it's a brownish little seed pod. And it'll take a few weeks for the seed to mature. But if all works out, then you are going to have a Boswellia seed once the seed pod cracks open. Now, in terms of sowing seeds, in my experience, Boswellia Nana has always been the easiest. I get easily 80% germination rates on Boswellia Nana. And here are a couple seedlings, a couple months old, I believe. These are Boswellia Nana. And these have been outdoors. They really need to go inside because we're gonna have some weather in the low 40s at night. And you know, seedlings are very frost prone. Not really frost prone, that's not frost weather, but they're really sensitive to the cold. But anyways, once you do have the seeds, I wish I could do a actually show my process of sowing the seeds, but I really have no space to do that at the moment, and it's also not the right temperature outdoors. But anyways, when you sow the seeds, sow them in a really gritty mix. A third pumice, a third perlite, and a third potting soil. And then you want to sprinkle the seeds on top. I like to let them soak overnight in water, and then I sow them. So I basically put them on the top of the soil, gently poke them. Oh, this is not focusing at all. There we go. Gently poke them down, and then I take very tiny bits of pumice and I just sprinkle it around. If you're doing this outdoors, wait for temperatures to be at minimum 85 degrees and ideally 60% humidity. I've also germinated a lot of them indoors when the weather was not opportune. And I would do the same process, but keep them on a heat mat. And I like to put a little plastic container over the top, like a Chinese takeout container, to really trap that humidity. And I'll spray the pot once or twice a day. Make sure it stays consistently moist, humid, and again a minimum of 85 degrees. And within, I would say, about 1 to 2 weeks, you will have some sprouts coming up. And when you see them, they will be absolutely tiny. You really have to have a keen eye. Nana's usually a bit bigger. Sacra, don't even get me started. They are tiny, fragile little seedlings, but Boswellia Nana gets pretty big pretty quickly. You see these guys at this point, they're pretty tough. They're starting to get that swollen base. And they have these tiny fibrous root systems that are going into the ground. But when you see the seedlings come up, do not water them overhead. If you knock one over, it will not come back. And that's the fire thing, so I'm gonna try to wrap this video up soon. But when you make sure you use a big pot when you sow seeds, because you do not want to transplant them for at least a year. They're going to be way too delicate to transplant, so make sure you have a good sized pot to allow plenty of root room. And again, wait at least a year. You could do 6 months, but the longer you stay in the initial pot, the better. And yeah, that is about it for frankincense pollination. I'll give you one last look at this Boswellia Nana. And yeah, this is the biggest one I have. Yeah, and again, he was completely dormant. Started throwing up a couple leaves, and then all of a sudden shot out a bunch of flowers off the top. And that's this is something that I notice happens quite a lot when they come out of dormancy. You'll get a couple leaves here and there, but they'll shoot out flowers like crazy. Dormancy is healthy for the plants. I would recommend, if you have an adult sized plant, or if it's a couple years old, let them go into dormancy for a couple months. The plants do it naturally in their environment. But make sure you still water them here and there. Don't overdo it. And give them a little bit of 043 fertilizer. Roots HPK. You know, they don't need nitrogen. They're not growing, but you know, they're still alive and they're still developing a root system down there. I personally use Roots HPK when they're dormant. That was a tip from Todd's Tropicals on YouTube. But yeah, give that a shot, and I hope some of you guys get some flowers on your Boswellia. That's about it. I'll catch you later.